You know, it all started on what should have been just another ordinary morning in my quiet corner of Maplewood Heights, sipping black coffee while flipping through case files for the federal bench I sit on, when this envelope slid under my door like some kind of bad omen. Another notice from the Oak Ridge Estates HOA, those self-appointed overlords who think they run the whole damn world. I'd bought my place, a cozy four-bedroom rancher on the edge of their so-called exclusive 55 and up enclave, thinking I was free and clear. My lawyer Marcus had double-checked the zoning maps, confirmed my lot was just outside their grip. But here they were, accusing me of sneaking in kids under the age rule, calling my boy Liam and my girl Emma unauthorized occupants, who needed to be gone in 24 hours or else. I chuckled at first, figuring it was the usual busybody nonsense. Maybe they didn't like the swing set in my yard or the way my grass grew a half-inch too wild. But as I read on, my stomach twisted, because this wasn't a fine or a warning. This was them threatening to enforce compliance on my family. And something about their tone, that smug, entitled vibe, made my judge's instincts flare up like a warning light. I called Marcus right away, pacing the kitchen while the kids scarfed down cereal before school, telling him, "These idiots are at it again, claiming my house is theirs to police." And he laughed it off too, said he'd fire off a cease and desist that afternoon, remind them of the county lines they were ignoring out of sheer spite. Turns out, the HOA board had a grudge against outsiders like me, folks who didn't bow to their endless rules about paint colors and holiday lights, all because their president, Brenda Hayes, this pearl-clutching retiree with a chip on her shoulder from some old neighborhood feud, saw my younger family as a threat to their pristine, child-free utopia. But oh man, I underestimated how far petty power can push people. The next day I pull into my driveway after a long court session, and the house is dead silent. No thump of soccer balls in the backyard. No giggles from Emma's room. Just their backpacks dumped by the door like they'd vanished mid-step. My heart hammered as I dialed their cells. Voicemail, both of them. And then I spot it, taped right there on the front door. Another HOA letter, bold as brass. Due to non-compliance, unauthorized minors have been relocated for safekeeping until resolution. Relocated? My kids? It hit me like a gut punch. These weren't empty threats. This was straight-up kidnapping, wrapped in bureaucratic bullshit. And as a federal judge who's seen every shade of criminal lowlife, I knew right then they'd crossed a line that would bury them. Panic clawed at me, but I forced it down, called 911 with hands shaking, explaining to the dispatcher how my children were gone, snatched by the very neighbors who'd been harassing me over nonsense rules. The cops showed up quick, combing the place, asking if I had enemies from the bench. But my gut screamed HOA, and when they read that letter over my shoulder, one officer whistled low, saying, "Sir, did your HOA just confess to taking your kids?" Yeah, they did. And in that moment, the rage boiled up. Not just fear for Liam and Emma, but this deep, burning fury at how these small-time tyrants thought they could play God with my family. All because Brenda and her cronies resented anyone who didn't fit their mold, maybe even jealous of the life I had outside their suffocating club. A neighbor, old Mr. Ellis from across the street, the guy who'd always waved when the kids biked by, pulled me aside, whispering he'd seen two slick-suited goons show up that morning, bundle the kids into a dark van like it was some official errand, heading toward the HOA's fancy community center. And that was all I needed. I stormed out with the cops in tow, my mind racing through every legal hammer I could drop. But first, get my kids back. We burst into that over-polished clubhouse, Brenda Hayes perched behind her desk like a queen on her throne, adjusting her reading glasses with this fake sweet smile, and I slammed the letter down, voice low and lethal. "Where are my children, you delusional witch?" She tilted her head, all innocence, purring back, "Oh, Judge Harlan, no need for drama. Your little rule breakers are in a safe, approved spot until you comply with our standards. It's just community enforcement, you understand?" The cops flanking me shifted, one muttering under his breath about how this was felony territory. But Brenda waved it off, insisting it was civil, her eyes gleaming with that twisted satisfaction of someone who's never been told no. Turns out, she'd orchestrated the whole thing out of personal vendetta after I'd ignored her at a block party once, seeing me as a symbol of everything disrupting her perfect control. I leaned in close, whispering, "This isn't enforcement, Brenda. This is kidnapping, and you've just confessed in front of witnesses." And as her smirk faltered, the lead cop stepped up. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for unlawful detention of minors," cuffing her while she sputtered, "You can't do this. We're the authority here." But we could, and we did. She blurted out they were at Evergreen Academy, some private school they used as a holding pen, and I didn't wait, peeling out in my car with sirens wailing behind, tires screeching through red lights, my knuckles white on the wheel, vowing silently that if one hair on their heads was out of place, I'd make her regret the day she ever signed up for that board. I exploded into that school like a force of nature, shoving past the flustered principal who stammered about official HOA custody, demanding, "Where are they?" and bolting down the hall to the room he pointed at. Door flies open, and there they are, Liam and Emma, wide-eyed at desks with some stern-faced woman hovering like a guard, and they leaped up. "Dad!" Emma sobbing into my shirt as I crushed them in a hug, Liam's voice cracking. "They said it was a field trip, but then they wouldn't let us call you." The woman stepped forward, all bluster. "Mr. Brooks, these children are under temporary guardianship per HOA directive. You have no right." But I cut her off with a glare that could melt steel. "Guardianship? You're not the law, lady. You're accessories to a crime." And the cops swarmed in, slapping cuffs on her as she yelped, "This is outrageous! We have protocols!" Outrageous? Yeah, it was. But not for her. For my kids, who'd been terrified. All because Brenda's ego couldn't handle a family living free on the fringes of her domain. Holding them tight in the car ride home, feeling their small bodies shake, that's when the real fire ignited inside me. This wasn't ending with arrests. Oh no. I was going to dismantle their whole rotten empire. Expose how their rules were just a cover for embezzling dues, faking fees to line pockets, all driven by Brenda's need to dominate after her own messy divorce left her craving control. From there, it was war. I holed up in my study that night, kids finally asleep after endless reassurances, and called Marcus. "We're not stopping at charges. File federal suits against every board member, racketeering, fraud, the works." Because as I dug through subpoenaed records, bank statements, emails, those maintenance invoices that screamed scam, it all unraveled, showing how Brenda and her VP, this sleazy accountant named Ted, had been skimming thousands for personal perks, like his boat or her spa trips, justifying it as preserving community values while terrorizing folks over trivial stuff, all rooted in their shared resentment of anyone who challenged their authority, like the time they'd fined a widow into near bankruptcy just for planting unapproved flowers. The indictments hit like dominoes. Brenda got 12 years for the kidnapping conspiracy. Ted lost his house in foreclosure after audits revealed his laundering schemes. And I didn't stop, rejecting their desperate plea deals with a cold laugh, watching from the gallery as Brenda begged the judge, tears streaming, "I was just upholding standards, please." But I stood up, voice steady. "Standards? You stole my children, ruined lives. You deserve every second behind bars." The HOA crumbled, funds frozen, fines refunded with interest, and in a twist that felt like sweet justice, I started buying up their foreclosed properties quietly, one by one, turning the tables until I owned enough to call a vote, 92% to dissolve the whole damn thing forever. Their precious sign ripped down as neighbors cheered, no more of that toxic grip born from insecurity and greed. But even as I sat on my porch weeks later, watching Liam and Emma chase fireflies without a care, that satisfaction deepened into something bigger. I'd exposed one snake pit, but these HOAs were everywhere, preying on families with bogus power plays, so I pushed further, testifying in state hearings about the systemic rot, how unchecked boards like Brenda's bred from personal demons turned communal nightmares, leading to the Homeowners Protection Act that capped fines, mandated audits, and slapped criminal penalties on abusers. I funded a defense group for victims, leaked the scandals to the press, headlines blaring, "Judge crushes corrupt HOA empire after kidnapping ordeal." Watching corporate backers behind these outfits scramble as stocks tanked, executives fled amid fraud probes, and soon petitions swelled to make HOAs voluntary, turning them into relics mocked on late-night shows and memes, their once feared authority reduced to punchlines. Yet, as I reflect now, sipping coffee in the dawn light, kids' laughter echoing, I wonder, was my revenge too far, turning personal pain into a nationwide purge? Or was it the only way to break the cycle of small tyrannies that fester in suburbs everywhere, born from folks like Brenda, who twist community into control because they've lost grip on their own lives? What do you think? Have you tangled with an HOA gone rogue, or do you see their side in keeping things orderly? Drop a comment below. Share your stories. Let's debate if justice like this heals or just breeds more resentment. And if this hit home, smash that subscribe, hit the bell, because you never know when the next wild tale drops.